hills, but for most it's set to be a dry day, plenty of sunshine and wall-to-wall blue skies, but it is going to feel cold, highs reaching around 8 to 9 degrees Celsius in the south, but in those brisk northerly winds it is set to feel much chillier. Now, to finish off the day, for a time there will be a mix of cloud and also some clear skies across Scotland. So once again, turning chilly, still with some showers around northern and eastern coasts. Some more clouds starting to feed in to Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across northern parts of England, a clear, calm end to the day, and similar elsewhere across England and also Wales. So another chilly night to come, and it's likely that we'll see some frost patches once again. But it will start to cloud over across parts of Scotland. Some further showers starting to push in from the northwest. We do just need to keep an eye on those showers. A good chance that they could bring us in some snow. Not only this, but some quite strong winds as well. So the potential there for some blizzard conditions to start the day on Tuesday. Elsewhere, a little drier, but once again, it is going to be fairly cold with some frost in places. Now, across Scotland, it is set to be a very unsettled day. A chance we could see some quite significant snow accumulations and some gale force winds at times. So blizzard conditions here. Also a much cloudier day with some showers at times. These still could turn wintry across the high ground, but across the far south and southeast, a mostly dry end to the day. Still feeling very cold in the winds, highs reaching 9 to 10 degrees.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 12 o'clock. It's Monday, the 17th of November. I'm Penny Smith.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
I will announce the most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times.
The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tells countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban. What will the human rights lawyers think about that?
Well, the Home Secretary is hoping that her new tougher stance will go down well with the electorate, but many in her own party may well oppose it.
We'll get the latest on Donald Trump's BBC lawsuit as a former Director General for the broadcaster says Trump should not pay a penny.
Fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tonnes of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire, and the removal cost is greater than the entire annual budget of the local district council. We'll have live shots for you later on in the show.
2 police officers came in. I was on a Zoom call just like this and arrested me. And in the sitting room, another pair of officers arrested my partner, Rosalind, in front of our 3-year-old daughter.
6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school. Well, police have now paid them 20 grand in damages.
Money to deal with the blight of potholes has become a regular feature of national budgets of late, as are their costs and dangers to motorists. But now residents living in Oxfordshire have been told by the council to wait 103 years for a full repair.
It's ridiculous. Well, I must say, Penny, it's lovely to be back here in London in the GB News studio. I've not been here for a few weeks.
Where have you been, Cameron?
Well...
Sorry, only because it's just... honestly, that's all he's been saying. I got in, he said, oh, it's so cold. I've just been in Brazil.
I have just been in Brazil. For GB News, I hasten to add, covering the Prince of Wales for his Earthshot Prize. It was lovely and warm. I got sunburnt. I got a tan, and now come back here. Well, does it not look like I've got a tan?
Sorry, no, it doesn't.
Oh,
but anyway, sorry.
I tried my best.
Surprise. Yes, exactly. It is lovely and warm. But the thing is, today, it has been, well, as you know, it's been very wet. We've had this terrible storm, Storm Claudia, and now they're saying that it's going to be frost pretty much everywhere by the end of the week.
Yeah, incredibly cold, particularly in Scotland, apparently. Lots of warnings to motorists. November highs we've had so far of 16 to 18 degrees in many places, but it could drop significantly this week. And actually, this week, the first time I brought my coat into work, Penny, of the season.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And Mark, you, of course, are Scottish blood in you.
Well, that's it. Just wheel in the resident knock.
Yeah. It's very far north, Mark, so much colder than, of course, we get here in London. So
it's remarkable we've survived as a species for so long, given how cold it is.
Because you wear kilts at all times.
Well, we do, certainly, and nothing on underneath them as well, you know.
Only if you're a true Scotsman, Mark, of course. Daytime television.
So, listen, you know, the wind has changed. It's coming from the north. When it comes from the north, that's when you get the Arctic winds. It's always cold. It's always cold up in Scotland anyway. They're just used to it. They can't understand why you southern softies make a big fuss anytime the temperature just drops below a certain point.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, you talk about that. I think it's also that despite the fact that snow can be perilous, and particularly if you're driving and everything else, there is, unfortunately, I think, a childlike excitement about the word snow.
Yes, and for me, I wanted time off school when it was snowing just 10 years ago, but now because of COVID, everyone learns online.
But the thing is, further north as well, people are used to driving in snow. It's not an issue.
True.
Down here, you get a smattering of sleet on the road. Even in rain, God, they can't drive down here. They're just terrible.
No. Actually, that's not totally true, for goodness sake. I remember.
No, I like...
I think in the Midlands, you kind of learn how to do it.
Indeed.
I like sweeping statements.
Sure. Well, let us know if we're making a mountain out of a molehill or if you are preparing for snow or ice in your area. Send us your views and comments. gbnews.com/your say. But now it's the news with Sam Francis.
Penny Cameron, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. The top story this hour. The government is pledging to overhaul the UK's asylum system with sweeping reforms being unveiled this afternoon. They're aimed at making deportations faster and tougher. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will announce the plans to rewrite parts of human rights laws, limit multiple appeals and threaten visa bans on 3 African nations that fail to cooperate on removals. Ministers say the move will restore order and control at Britain's borders. But critics are already calling it another failed deterrence policy. Refugee charities, meanwhile, are warning the reforms echo Rwanda, one in, one out, and smash the gangs, insisting no policy can deter people who are already risking their lives. A couple in Hertfordshire say police have paid them damages after they were arrested in January for comments made in a parents' WhatsApp group about their daughter's primary school. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were held for 11 hours after officers said they needed to investigate claims of harassment and malicious communications. No charges were brought, and the couple now say they're very unhappy with the force, arguing that people under investigation are often given no information about what they're being targeted for. They warn that cases like theirs make it look like police are policing free speech. Meanwhile, police say organised gangs are using increasingly sophisticated tactics to steal cargo from lorries across the UK, including buying legitimate haulage companies, then collecting the loads and disappearing with the goods. The Road Haulage Association says the money is fuelling wider criminal networks, warning thieves are becoming more intelligent and using cybercrime to target high-value items. Last year, the value of stolen goods jumped by nearly 2/3, even as the number of incidents fell, a sign that criminals now need to slash fewer curtains to know exactly what's worth taking. In the US, President Trump has dramatically called on Republicans in the House to vote for the release of government files on Jeffrey Epstein, a sharp shift from his previous position. He's under growing pressure from within his own party after Democrats began releasing documents referencing Trump and other high-profile figures. Mr. Trump has always denied any link to Epstein's crimes, but in a late-night post, he insisted Republicans have nothing to hide, as dozens now signal they're ready to break ranks and back the bill, which is expected to come to a vote tomorrow. The measures appear likely to pass the House, though it's unclear whether the Senate would clear it. In Bangladesh, the former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's brutal crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Hasina, tried while in exile in India, has called the verdict biased and politically motivated. The ruling now puts pressure on New Delhi to extradite her from India, though that remains unlikely. Security is now tightening across Bangladesh as protests are starting to erupt over that verdict. The United States says it will formally designate the Cartel de los Soles, a Venezuelan criminal network it alleges includes President Nicolas Maduro, as a foreign terrorist organisation. The move escalates already sharpening tensions amid growing speculation of a potential US military strike on Venezuela. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the designation, accusing the cartel of large-scale drug trafficking and claiming that Maduro is directly involved, an allegation he fiercely denies. Well, a breakthrough in Formula One technology could finally fix Britain's notoriously poor train Wi-Fi. A new pilot programme on Great Western Railway will use a hybrid system combining signals from trackside phone masts with low Earth orbit satellites to deliver super-fast and far more reliable connections. Engineers say the technique, pioneered in F1 to maintain uninterrupted data links with cars travelling at high speed, could transform onboard connectivity. And a cold weather warning is in effect, with snow and ice expected as temperatures plunge. The UK Health Security Agency has issued an alert for East and West Midlands, the North East, North West and Yorkshire, running right through until next week. It follows the coldest night since March over the weekend, with temperatures dropping to -7 in the Scottish Highlands. Officials say the freezing conditions could pose risks for vulnerable people. They're urging the public to check on those who may need support. That's it from me. We'll take a look at the finance next, and of course a full weather roundup with Mark White later this hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here are the midday markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3167 and €1.1348 euros. The price of gold is £3,095.75. That's per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,692 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Right, moving on then, the Home Secretary is set to introduce some of the toughest measures yet on illegal migration, with countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers or foreign criminals to face a total visa ban.
Yes, Shabana Mahmood will set out the new plans in Parliament in what the government says are the most sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration in modern times.
We're joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. The thing is, this is about illegal migration, but of course quite a lot of the migration is actually legal, isn't it? I mean, the vast majority of it is legal, so it's not going to make a huge difference.
No, and of course many people across the country see migration just generally in terms of what it's doing to communities. The fact there are many more people from outside the UK now in these communities, and then the inevitable strain that puts on the likes of the public services. So they're not necessarily all of the time differentiating between those coming on a small boat or those who've been invited in to take up a job. But there's no doubt that small boat migration, illegal migration, is the most visible manifestation of illegal immigration, and that's why, of course, Shabana Mahmood's policies are geared towards that. She hopes clearly that taken in the round, all of these policies together, it will prove to be the kind of deterrent they hope it will be. But individually, some of the policies, like extending the period of time you get before you can be given permanent residency, are migrants going to really care about that? As long as they're here and working, that's what most of them want anyway. And I think the bigger issue for the government potentially with all of this is you've got Shabana Mahmood, she's there. I think clearly does want to get to grips with the border crisis. But I think there's many in our party that don't, and don't share her enthusiasm for some of the tougher measures. They're already coming out. This, you know, hasn't even been announced to Parliament. Of course, it's been leaked all over the press over the weekend. But they're already coming out, and they'll be joined by others. I think this could be a real, sort of mess for the government trying to negotiate this in the days and weeks ahead. And remember the embarrassing climb down that we had over the welfare cuts that the government was hoping to push through, that they eventually had to sort of climb down on that. So we could have exactly the same situation here, with many Labour MPs feeling that actually this is just a bit too cold-hearted and callous of the government going down this particular road, and they might resist it.
OK, Mark White, Home Security Editor, thank you for joining us. Moving on, Reform UK's deputy leader has just been speaking in Westminster about how councils around the country will be slashing wasteful spending. So let's cross live now to our political correspondent Olivia Utley, who I believe is with Richard Tice. Olivia, over to you. Good morning, or good afternoon even.
Good afternoon. Yes, Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform, has been giving the press an update on how the Doge-style savings are going, which his party would plan to implement from local government upwards. And I'm joined by Richard Tice. So, Richard, firstly, I mean, we're all talking about these immigration reforms, of course. Our viewers have just been listening to Mark White talk about what they would entail. GB News viewers, on the whole, quite like the sound of them. Would reform in the Commons vote for those proposals tabled by Shabana Mahmood?
Well, I think the Home Secretary is now sort of adopting the language and ideas that we've essentially given her. But the question is that, what proposals actually will come forwards. She might actually need our votes, because I'm not sure she's going to get the support of her own backbenchers behind her, all starting to call her all sorts of strange names. Look, at the end of the day, people want illegal immigration stopped. They want legal immigration essentially frozen so that we can catch up and look after British citizens. And look, we wish her well. Whether or not she can actually get anything done, we doubt, because you have to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, you have to repeal the Human Rights Act, otherwise you're just subject to the human rights lawyers making off like bandits and preventing deportations and the introduction of a proper immigration policy.
You say the Home Secretary is speaking the language of reform. You've had a lot of defections to reform recently. If Shabana Mahmood wanted to join reform, would you have her?
Well, obviously she'd have to go through the usual vetting process, but people have got to believe in our principles and our values. That's the key thing, and I think that's why people are coming over to us. They're furious about what's happening to our country, and look at the number of council by-elections we're winning. In fact, just in my constituency last Thursday, we had our record ever reform win at almost 66% of the vote. So people want more reform, not less reform.
Sounds like an invitation to Shabana Mahmood to me. Now, you talked today about the Doge-style savings you're making across government. The bottom line is, though, that your voters want you to cut council tax. Are you going to do that?
Well, the first thing we've announced today is we've saved both current and future well over £300 million of savings, with a lot more to come. And we've talked also about the potential savings by managing the local government pension scheme better to reduce the costs of that. And that could help enormously. And then also I've talked at length about SEND and special educational needs and disabilities, which we all want to be done really well for the most needy children needing the greatest provision. But the truth is that I've been asked by experts to highlight the failings of SEND, the overdiagnosis of children with supposed neurodiverse needs, over-medication. You don't need annual educational health and care plans. Billions of pounds are being misspent, badly spent, and we can do this so much better. And do you know who's suffering the most from it? Children who are getting the worst outcomes, poorer outcomes. And so we're saying, and likewise, the rip-off of the taxi firms taking EHCP children to schools, all of this stuff is wrong, and the children are receiving worse outcomes as a result.
You suggest as well that parents are gaming the system, trying to get money out of the system by diagnosing their children with disabilities. That's a pretty big claim. Can you quickly explain what you mean by that?
Yes, look, the reality is that, for example, there's lots of middle-class parents now using solicitors to fill out EHCP application forms in order to, because if you're in an independent school and you've got an EHCP, guess what? You get no VAT. What the government should do is scrap their ridiculous VAT on independent school fees so that more people go to independent schools to ease pressure off the state system. Likewise elsewhere, if you get an EHCP, then the parents can qualify for a PIP, which means they can qualify for a Motability car. And we've got situations where parents, they've got a Motability car, but they're still demanding a taxi to take the child to school. This is wrong. And do you know what? Children are better off being taken to school either by parents or friends, and with other school friends. That's how you get better outcomes, and also how we save hundreds of millions, if not billions, for council taxpayers. That requires a change in legislation. We said what the government should do is don't kick the can down the road, try some changes on a cross-party basis from next April, and then we can start to work out the best ways to essentially to help those genuinely in need, the most in need, but also not to wrongly label children who don't need labelling, who then think there's something wrong with me, when there isn't. They're just great children with different thoughts and excitements, and that's all part of being a child.
Thank you very much, Richard Tice. That's Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform. No clear promise there to cut council tax, but lots of ideas about how to make savings. I'm sure we'll hear more from Reform on this very soon. For now, back to you in the studio.
OK, Olivia Utley, thank you very much for joining us. That's GB News' political correspondent there.
Let's return to our lead story then, Labour's shift in immigration policy and the push to emulate Denmark's tough model. Let's get more now with political editor at BT in Denmark, Emily B. Jaeger. And Emily, so just explain, just very briefly, the major things that have made this work in Denmark.
Yeah, well, I think the major things is the government that has tightened the rules for family reunification and stricter restrictions on foreigners' chances of getting a residence permit. The policy works so well regarding the asylum seekers that it is at the historically low. I think it's the lowest it has been in 40 years or something, the number of asylum seekers coming to Denmark. It's also people being prosecuted by foreign regimes normally get protection in Denmark, but often only temporarily because the government reserves the right to send an asylum seeker back to their home country when it is considered safe. So we've seen that in regards to Syria, for instance, just recently.
Emily, how difficult was it for the Danish government to get these policies through? Because the fear for the government here in the United Kingdom is that backbench Labour MPs from their own party could revolt on some of these measures.
I would say that it has been relatively easy because the support for this kind of policy in Denmark is really broad and is really wide. So there is a growing consensus that in Denmark you can't win an election if you are seen as being not tough on immigration. I was hearing your political reporter in the interview before, and it feels like an echo actually from Denmark. We have the Danish People's Party on the far right that is saying, okay, well, the Social Democratic Party with Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has just copied our rhetoric and some of our policy because it's been so popular. So I would say that of course, there is some voices that are criticizing the Danish government for is it at odds with some of the conventions and treaties that we have signed? There are some human rights lawyers, of course, that say that it is too tough. But generally speaking, I would say that they have great support for this kind of policy.
Yes, there's a narrower definition of family, as I understand it. So it's not kind of extended family. Is that part of the gig as well?
One of the things that has been most focused on here in Denmark in regards to family reunification is that there are, of course, different criteria a refugee must meet to bring their partner to Denmark. And the government says some of these rules are designed to prevent forced marriages. So both partners must be at least 24 years old, and of course they must have passed a Danish language test. It's not the most difficult one, but you have to be able to speak some Danish.
OK, political editor at BT in Denmark, Emily B. Jaeger, thank you very much for joining us. And I mean, Penny, it is extraordinary. Denmark has had their asylum applications fall to their lowest level in 40 years, as Emily was saying, but also 95% of rejected asylum seekers are now removed compared to, what, single digits percentage here in the UK?
Yes, this one out, one in, one out, or one out, one in, which has resulted in barely more than 100,
yes,
I think, so far. But you're right. And it is, but actually, these are quite big changes, though. And as we know, the whole thing about Britain is that we have a different legal system, obviously, and so it's all about those things as well. So they need to make sure that they've actually got their, legally, that it's a bit more watertight than we've seen in the past.
And the Home Secretary, of course, he's persuaded her backbench MPs. Let's see if she can do that. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tons of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire. But after the break,
we get the latest on Donald Trump's BBC lawsuit as legal experts explain whether he's likely to win.
All of that and much more coming up. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the UK, and over a lifetime, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. It's mostly affecting women over 50. As you mentioned before, it does affect a small proportion of men, less than 1%, but still there is a potential risk. The good news is, if caught early, survival is excellent due to improved treatments and new drugs. So 99% of women and men survive for more than 5 years if caught early. And overall, the breast cancer survival rate is about 85%, which is fantastic. It's important to know that you have to check. Women have to learn to check their breasts. So if you notice anything different, dimpling, change in shape, a lump, go and get it checked out. Even though survival rates are much improved, we do have less survival here compared to other countries. So, for example, in America, 90% of women will survive over 10 years if they're with breast cancer. So it is important to get checked out just as soon as you notice any changes whatsoever.
Why is there that difference, Lucy, between, say, us and America, for example?
Well, the UK lags behind generally in cancer survival, 10 to 25 years, they estimate, over a range of cancers. That includes prostate, ovarian, lung, breast, and bowel cancer. And there could be a number of reasons, but I think part of the problem, the NHS, is great when you get to the front of the queue, isn't it? But it's actually getting there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 12:26, and the BBC says it has had even no further comments from Donald Trump's lawyers after his threats to sue for up to $5 billion over that edited Panorama clip.
That's after the US president told Bev Turner on the Late Show Live that he has an obligation to sue, but should he heed legal warnings that it could be a challenging case to win.
Well, let's get the thoughts now of a spokesperson for Republicans Overseas UK, Jennifer Ewing. Jennifer, welcome to the studio. There's been a lot of commentary overnight from US legal experts saying it's going to be quite difficult for President Trump to win for a number of reasons. Do you think President Trump has any chance at all?
I think I agree with the legal experts, of which I am not one, but it is very difficult to win this suit. But I don't actually think it's about winning. I think it's about the fact we've all been having a conversation about the misediting, and the bias of our state broadcaster. And I think that's the point of the conversation. You'll know that this administration has taken on a lot of other issues with regards to free speech in Europe and the United Kingdom, whether it's they're now looking at the Center for Countering Digital Hate with Morgan McSweeney. They've picked up on a lot of what we see in America is, the right to free speech in the First Amendment, whether it's praying silently outside of an abortion clinic or online, infringements of free speech. So I think that's what it's about. I don't think he's going to get $5 billion. I don't think he thinks he's going to get $5 billion. But in the meantime, we're all going to be talking about it. And I think the BBC, in the end, will turn out being a better broadcaster because of it.
Right, so it's about conversations.
Yes.
It's about keeping the conversation going.
Yes.
And although there might be lawyers getting involved, it will be a lot more limited than the amount of lawyers involved who would have to get involved. Question, though, is do you think that Donald Trump has actually had a conversation with Keir Starmer?
Yeah, we were just talking about that, and the last that I had heard anyway was it would happen over the weekend. It's Monday, so the weekend has happened.
Weekend into the next week.
Maybe that was just
switching the form of the
exactly.
weekend.
They have both said they have a good relationship, though they probably differ on a lot of have very differing views. I think they have a decent relationship. They've been complimentary to one another. So yeah, I think they will have a conversation. I personally have not heard if that's taken place or not.
And Trump does have previous when it comes to suing media companies, particularly in the US. We've had ABC News paid out $15 million to him. We had CBS just last year paying $16 million. So it's not as if President Trump is a guy that's going to give up on this kind of thing.
No, exactly. And look, this was egregious. I think anyone can look at it. This was not a mistake, as some people are calling it. Oh, it was a junior, editor or producer. They definitely wanted to change the meaning of the speech, and it wasn't a small edit. It was 54 minutes or whatever it is. So that is a big deal. And the problem is not for Trump. Trump, obviously, he won the election. He's going to be okay. He doesn't need the money. The problem is for the British people who look to the state broadcaster as not left-leaning, not right-leaning, but as just giving them the facts and the news. And I'm sure we all have so many people that in our lives that are not the news junkies that we are, that aren't double and triple checking things and listen to the left, right, center, all that stuff. And people just turn on the BBC. It's on in the airports. It's on in doctors' offices, everywhere. And they just say, that's the facts. And in the lead up to the election last year, I cannot tell you how many people were like, January 6th, and was it a great day for our country? No, but there's still a lot of facts to come out about that day, and the amount of people that were brainwashed into thinking that Trump was trying to overthrow the United States government is frightening.
Well, I mean, he was saying that, there was a steal, that there was a vote
Yes,
steal.
he absolutely believes
so. He absolutely 100% did that. The point is that as a journalist, that there are so many other ways of doing this. They could actually have done this, they could have, absolutely spliced it with a gap in the middle, just making sure that you could see that this was this far afield.
Just a white flash.
Just to say, BBC chair has said that the BBC is determined to defend this.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So we do have a right reply from the BBC. Oh, no, we've already done that. It's time for a Great British Giveaway now. So this is very exciting because there's just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us this year. That's 40 grand in tax-free cash, shopping vouchers and a GB News festive goodie bag. Make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
We'll be joined by a pothole campaigner as a street in Oxfordshire can't be fixed for more than 103 years.
103 years.
Yeah.
All of that, much more after your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 12:30, the top story this hour. The government's set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. The refugee groups say it's just another gimmick that won't work. A couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group say police have paid them £20,000 in damages. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accused the force of policing free speech. Officers say they had been investigating claims of harassment. President Trump is calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. In Bangladesh, the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Security's been tightened across the country, with fresh protests already breaking out. And snuggle up, a cold weather alert's now in force across much of England as snow and ice hits. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight. It's the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 1.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold, deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below 0 here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east, it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast. And there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us, it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a temporary speed restriction on the Queensferry crossing due to planned roadworks. Heavy goods vehicles above 7.5 tonnes are restricted on the M48 in both directions. In Gateshead, drivers on the A1 northbound between the A167 Washington-Berkeley and the junction with the A694 are experiencing congestion, with delays expected to last until later today. On the M6 2 westbound near Rochdale, an accident has closed one of the 3 lanes between junction 21 and junction 20, expected to resolve by 1 this afternoon. And on the trains, there is disruption on the cross-country line between Truro and Penzance. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. The time is 12:37 and we're going to return to our top story now, because the Home Secretary is set to introduce some of its toughest measures yet on illegal migration, with countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers or foreign criminals to face a total visa ban.
Speaking in the last few moments, the Prime Minister's spokesperson said the current pace and scale of illegal migration is out of control and placing huge pressure on communities.
Well, we are joined now by GB News' Home and Security Editor Mark White with the latest. What's the Prime Minister's spokesperson been saying then?
Well, really just kind of hammering home a lot of the various announcements and talking points that the press have been given, have been privy to over the weekend, which incidentally I will be really interested to see what Sir Lindsay Hoyle says about the fact that this has been so pre-briefed in all of the papers.
Yes, he always gets very annoyed
of course, and understandably so. He wants the legislature and the Parliament to be able to assess these big announcements before they're leaked to the press. Well, this has been every single element, I think, of that announcement from Shabana Mahmood has been out there in the press since Friday, and then just dripped all over the weekend as well.
Doesn't it seem to you that this is everything now? No, 10 years ago, this did not happen, these pre-briefing briefings.
Yeah, but we were told that Labour was going to be different. It was going to be grown-up government.
There's going to be no scandals as well, I think, they told us, as you say, sensible growing up. Mark, we've had a number of our viewers and listeners get in touch, gbnews.com/yoursay, if you'd like to join the conversation. James says, Labour's not going to resolve this issue because none of them have a backbone, mention anything about immigration, and the left go crazy. There's an issue, of course, that the Labour backbench MPs could thwart the government in their tracks.
Well, I think this is the big potential obstacle ahead for this one. Now, you've already got the Conservatives mischievously saying that they may vote with the government on certain more responsible issues. So what you're looking at, less than 120 Conservative MPs that might vote with you. But then you've got the Liberal Democrats. Are they going to vote yes on some of the more contentious issues? I think not. The SNP, some of the independents within there. They together, combined, make up pretty much most of what the Conservative vote would be. So if you get a sizable rebellion from Labour, then the government could be in deep trouble. As I say, just remember the debacle over the welfare cuts that they were trying to push through, and they just had to backtrack on that to such a degree that it was meaningless at the end of the day.
So actually the figures don't add up, because that's what I was trying to work out, because it's quite difficult to see who would vote against and who would vote for if you actually kind of fiddled with it. So it actually doesn't add
well, it will depend on the size of the rebellion, basically, at the end of the day. There's 400-odd Labour MPs, so you get a sizable rebellion. And as I say, Lib Dems, SNP and others voting against these reforms as well. It's going to be very difficult.
But if they voted for them, then? But that's what I'm saying. So wouldn't it be funny? I'm just imagining the corridors of power, as they call it, you know, and sort of conversations and sort of whispered conversations about, I tell you what, you've always said that this is what you wanted to do if you were in power. I know you were for 14 years. But anyway, how about joining with us? Would that not happen?
Well, possibly. But, of course, the Conservatives who were in power for 14 years are basically saying, well, this is a gimmick and the measures don't go far enough. But, of course, they did also have 14 years to sort it out themselves.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, I better give you a couple of lines from the lobby.
Okay, go for it,
That's what I'm supposed to be here to do. So they were asked about, look, you know, are you in this tougher policy potentially going to be returning migrants to countries where they may not be safe, where they could be in harm's way? And as the official spokesman said, it's important to make clear that the government will never seek to return anyone to be tortured in their home country. But by the same token, they say the government was elected on a mandate to secure our borders, and we inherited an asylum system in chaos. To me, that smacks of the real contradiction at the end of the day that I don't think they have a solution for. Well, they're saying, yes, they've got to push through this mandate. That's what they were elected on. They are clearly saying they're not going to be sending anybody back to a country where they may be tortured. So if you come from Afghanistan, if you come from Iran, if you come from Syria and many other countries to add to that particular list, then you can absolutely stand up and argue through your lawyers, through the human rights groups that will back you up, that being sent back to those countries is going to be a real potential risk to your safety. And then we don't have a third country. under the Conservatives, they were looking at Rwanda. That was immediately scrapped by Labour when they came into power. There is no third country option available for Labour. So what do you do with those that you can't return to these many, many countries that are deemed just not to be safe enough to return people to because of their human rights record, because they might actually be in the middle of a conflict?
I mean, it's widely assumed that the Home Secretary has taken inspiration from the very successful asylum seeker policies of Denmark. But one of the Denmark rules struck me this morning when I was reading about it. In 2016, they passed a jewellery law where authorities can confiscate the asylum seekers' cash or valuables, including jewellery, if they don't have cash on them, to pay for their accommodation and support, rather than using taxpayers' money. Would that work here in the UK? I don't see many migrants coming across on small dinghies with Rolex watches, for example.
No, I think that's a complete nonsense, to be honest, because it might work in Denmark. I don't know the sort of demographic of the asylum seeker that's entering that country. If it is families, and maybe they do have access to savings and things like that, that may be something they can tap into. What they don't do in Denmark is take away those possessions such as wedding rings as very sort of personal possessions. But yeah, it's 85% at least young men crossing the English Channel. And you're right, they're not coming over with all of their bling, or massive wads of cash or anything like that. In fact, what they do is throw away all identifying documents, so you can't actually tell who they are anyway. So how on earth are you going to get any money out of them?
Well, they do have phones, because, of course, they advertise on, social media platforms, at least they have done.
Yeah, but they toss them in the channel before they get picked up. This is the thing. It's all part of the deal. I should just say as well, on that returns deal with France that we've heard so much about, where we've had, of course, 2 returns that then return back to the UK. The hokey-cokey migrants. We've currently got one still here at the moment. 113 migrants have been returned to France in the 3 months since this deal has been up and running, which is just, a minuscule number, given the tens of thousands, well, it's about 13,000 now who've come over in that same period of time. So that's another one. The government keeps saying, look, we are, as far as that's concerned, we're making progress, but there's no single solution. And they always say we'll hopefully in time be able to ramp it up. One other thing worth bringing you on the issue of President Trump and, of course, the row with the BBC. He was asked whether Sir Keir Starmer has spoken to President Trump on this issue. No, he hasn't spoken to Trump, we're said. They'll be informing us in the usual way if we set out.
Right. Well, that sounds like a delay then, because we were expecting that to happen over the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I suppose these things...
Well, they say they've been very clear that this is a matter for the BBC and not for the British government to get involved in. Well, even though it's going to hit many voters, taxpayers, because it's potentially, depending on how big the fine is, unless they're going to sort of abandon a whole heap of programmes and make thousands of people redundant, they'll be going on your licence fee.
OK, Mark White, Home and Security Editor, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially
if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tell you what, we've got a story about potholes now that is just, I mean, ridiculous. Fed up residents in a quiet cul-de-sac in Banbury in Oxfordshire say they've been abandoned after being told that it could take 103 years to have their pothole-riddled road resurfaced. 103 years.
Could not believe it. Absolutely farcical. Anyway, the locals on Horsham Close say some of the potholes are like craters, adding it's yet another sign of Britain's crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah, we're going to speak now to pothole campaigner Mark Morell, often known as just Mr. Pothole. I say just Mr. Pothole. My goodness. Well, Mark, this is staggering. 103 years. I'm sorry, but it's just one of those things where you can't imagine the person who actually said, either dictated the letter or whatever else, saying, yeah, no, it'll be done in 103 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. They've used the figure from the Alarm survey. That's a survey, a report that shows just how bad our roads are, and used an average figure. How naive or stupid, really, to actually put a figure in there rather than say it'll be done as and when, you know? I know the particular road, because the main road, Sussex Drive, that it comes off of, I campaigned some years ago, got it resurfaced. Last year, I actually used some AI as a free app called Stand the App and drove around the 34 miles of Banbury on the main routes and identified 1,500 severe defects on their main routes. So the side roads, a number of those cul-de-sacs are well outside their life. I mean, if you look at the average road, it lasts about 20 to 25 years. And in the same report, In 15 years' time, 52% of all the country's roads will be structurally unsound, and therefore we've got a major problem coming up. And it just reflects the attitude, really, from politicians and authorities that we have to accept a managed decline, and then we're going to get told we're going to pay per mile. I mean, I sent a picture in to GB News showing a pay per mile dial on a failing road. I mean, why should we be paying for that?
So, Mark, just briefly, what should be done? Because the Oxfordshire County Council in this particular case is saying there's just no money to prioritise this road because it doesn't have a high enough traffic volume.
I can understand some of the difficulties they've got. However, they've still got a legal responsibility under the Highways Act. And to actually maintain road to a safe standard at public expense, having lack of funds is not a legal defence.
Yeah.
So
of course, you know, the point is, Mark, that we're talking about potholes. Nobody goes, oh, it's a pothole. The thing is, you know, you are talking about motorbikers, for example. If you don't see this pothole because it's covered in water or whatever,
yes,
it is a nightmare.
It is. Mark, I'm so sorry. We've completely run out of time.
Oh.
But thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Pothole there, Mark Morell. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. I'm sure lots of you are going to be really annoyed about potholes, so do get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. But now, here is the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold, deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below zero here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east, it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast, and there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us, it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The University of Sheffield has raised a few eyebrows after slapping death and violence triggers on, you know what's coming, the Bible. Christians and historians have dubbed the warnings as misguided and absurd and incompatible with discussions about morality. Joining me now is co-host of the Catholic Unscripted podcast, Mark Lambert. Mark, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Mark, I mean, I can see from the smile on your face already what you make of this story, but just articulate for me your feelings about it.
I think it's typical of the culture that wants to sexualise our children and have drag queens and all this kind of stuff. And they want to censor the Bible, you know, they want to censor the book that built our civilization. It's just so vacuous in academic terms that this is the way that they want to move forward. And it's kind of redolent of that post-Enlightenment ideology that says that we need to tear down the things that have worked for hundreds of years. You know, we've stood on the shoulders of those who've gone before us, built on these principles. But in reality, it stifles critical thinking, any deep textual engagement. And instead of equipping students to grapple with complex narratives that reflect the human condition, like sin, sacrifice, salvation, these warnings promote intellectual avoidance, reducing profound theological events like Christ's crucifixion to just triggers for graphic bodily injury or sexual violence. This isn't education, Dawn. It's a superficial evasion that undermines the very purpose of academia.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock. It's Monday, the 17th of November. I'm Penny Smith.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
I will announce the most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times.
The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tells countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban. What will the human rights lawyers think about that?
Although a tougher approach to illegal migration might be popular within the country as a whole, actually persuading members of their own party could be more problematic for Labour.
We'll get the latest on Donald Trump's BBC lawsuit as a former Director General for the broadcaster says Trump should not be paid a penny.
Fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tonnes of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire, and the removal cost is greater than the entire annual budget of the local district council. We'll have live shots for you later on in the show.
2 police officers came in. I was on a Zoom call just like this and arrested me. And in the sitting room, another pair of officers arrested my partner, Rosalind, in front of our 3-year-old daughter.
6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school. Well, police have now paid them £20,000 in damages.
We're going to start with the latest from Tesco.
I think a lot of you at home are going to be quite annoyed with this. Now, Tesco, the big supermarket chain, appears to have got rid of the famous Christmas trees, instead renaming them
Evergreen trees.
Evergreen
There's
trees.
the evergreen tree.
Here we are. So if you're listening on the radio, these are pictures of their boxes of artificial Christmas trees without the word Christmas on them at all, instead calling them evergreen trees. So a lot of the papers and the commentary online, as you can probably imagine, is saying, this is Tesco gone woke. What are they doing? How dare they? What's wrong with cancelling Christmas? Even though it's November, of course. Just to point out, on their website, there are still a number of Christmas trees available called Christmas trees.
Christmas trees,
but I think it has clearly annoyed quite a lot of people. Why do you call them evergreen trees? Can't you just call them Christmas?
Just call them Christmas trees. I call them Christmas trees even outside of the time of Christmas. If they look like a Christmas tree, I call them a Christmas tree, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And the Conservative leader of the London Assembly, Susan Hall, she's told The Telegraph, it's Christmas. It's a Christmas tree. People don't tend to put up green plastic fir trees for any other reason. It's all stupid nonsense about offending other people and other religions. Well, below that, this is supposed to be a Christian country. We have Christmas. Let's celebrate it, says Susan Hall.
And the fact is, actually, other religions are not offended by the celebration of Christmas in a Christian country. You speak to Hindus and Buddhists and the vast majority of Muslims, they're not in the slightest bit bothered and actually will join in those celebrations as well. It doesn't offend them. But what you've got are marketing divisions within these big companies where you've got Tarquin and Tabitha who feel that we must, you know, do what we can do to not offend the great British public. And the great British public are the ones that are actually buying the product and they're not in the slightest bit offended.
Can I just say it offends me that we've got Christmas already and it's not December, so that offends me. So I'm going to be angry of, well, wherever I'm, where are we at the moment? Angry of Paddy.
Do you know, I was having a rant about this just last night with a friend of mine who works in retail. I said, why on earth in November are we seeing all these Christmas decorations up, Christmas ads and all that? And he said it's always been since the beginning of November.
I thought you were going to say since the beginning of time. I was going to say, well, in that case, I was arrived before that.
Yeah.
Yes, quite. Well, I don't have my Christmas tree up yet, Penny, do you?
I just said.
Quite right.
I'm going to get some tinsel for the final hour of the show.
1st of December, the very earliest you should be able to do
That's it. You open your advent calendar, picture of a donkey, press on. That's when we talk about Christmas.
Humbug, that's what I say.
Exactly.
Well, I'm not going to be Scrooge here. Anyway, a spokesperson for Tesco says we are proudly celebrating Christmas at Tesco and have a range of real and artificial Christmas trees in store as part of a wide selection of Christmas products to help our customers celebrate Christmas this year.
I don't think they said the word Christmas enough.
I was going to say exactly that. There's about 4 times they said the word Christmas in that statement. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. But now is the latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom at just after 1 o'clock. The top story this lunchtime, the Home Secretary is set to unveil what she's calling the most sweeping reforms to tackle illegal migration in modern times later this afternoon. The overhaul includes Trump-style visa bans on Angola, Namibia and the Democratic Republic of Congo if they refuse to take back illegal migrants. Shabana Mahmood says, accept your citizens or lose the privilege of entering our country. It's also expected to include fast-tracked deportations and a proposed 20-year wait for permanent settlement. Ministers insist the reforms will restore order and control at the border, but critics warn of gimmicks and legal battles ahead. A couple in Hertfordshire say police have paid them damages after they were arrested in January for comments made in a parents' WhatsApp group about their daughter's primary school. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were held for 11 hours after officers said they needed to investigate claims of harassment and malicious communications. No charges, though, were brought, and the couple now say they're very unhappy with the force, arguing that people under investigation are often given almost no information about why they're being targeted. They warn that cases like theirs make it look like police are policing free speech when investigations collapse. Police say organised gangs are using increasingly sophisticated tactics to steal cargo from lorries across the UK, including buying legitimate haulage companies, then collecting loads and disappearing with the goods. The Road Haulage Association says the money's fuelling wider criminal networks, warning thieves are becoming more intelligent and using cybercrime to target high-value items. Last year, the value of stolen goods jumped by nearly 2/3, even as the number of incidents fell, a sign that criminals now need to slash fewer curtains to follow and know exactly what's worth taking. In the United States, President Trump has dramatically called on Republicans in the House to vote to release government files on Jeffrey Epstein, marking a sharp shift from his previous position. He's under growing pressure from within his own party after Democrats began releasing documents referencing Mr. Trump and other high-profile figures. He has always denied any links to Epstein's crimes, but in a late-night post he insisted Republicans have nothing to hide, as dozens are now signalling they're ready to break ranks and back the bill. The measure appears likely to pass the House, though it's unclear whether it would clear the Senate. He says there's nothing to hide ahead of that congressional vote expected tomorrow. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's brutal crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Hasina, tried while in exile in India, has called the verdict biased and politically motivated. The ruling puts pressure on New Delhi to extradite her, though that remains unlikely. Security is now tightened across Bangladesh as protests have started to erupt already over the verdict. The United States says it will formally designate the Cartel de los Soles, a Venezuelan criminal network it alleges includes the President Maduro, as a foreign terrorist organisation. The move escalates already sharpening tensions between the two countries amid growing speculation of a potential US strike on Venezuela. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the designation, arguing and accusing the cartel of large-scale drug trafficking and claiming that Maduro is directly involved, an allegation he fiercely denies. Washington hasn't publicly provided evidence linking the Venezuelan president to narcotics operations, but has branded him a trafficker and is widely seen as a step that could justify the future action of the US against him and his inner circle. Well, a breakthrough in Formula One technology could finally fix Britain's notoriously poor train Wi-Fi. A new pilot programme on Great Western Railway will use a hybrid system combining signals from trackside phone masts with low Earth orbit satellites to deliver superfast, far more reliable connections. Experts and engineers say the technique, pioneered in F1 to maintain uninterrupted data links, could transform onboard connectivity nationwide if the trial succeeds. And a cold weather warning is in effect, with snow and ice expected as temperatures plunge. The UK Health Security Agency's issued the alert for the East and West Midlands, the North East, the North West and Yorkshire, running right through to next week. It follows the coldest night since March over the weekend, when temperatures dropped to -7 in the Scottish Highlands. Officials say the freezing conditions could pose risks for vulnerable people. They're urging the public to check on those who may need support. Those are the headlines. Let's take a look now at the lunchtime markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Well, the pound will buy you $1.3167 and €1.1348. The price of gold is £3,095.75 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,692 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thanks, Sam. Now let's return to our lead story. And the Home Secretary is set to introduce some of its toughest measures yet on illegal migration, with countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers or foreign criminals to face a total visa ban.
Speaking in the last half hour, the Prime Minister's spokesperson said the current pace and scale of illegal migration is out of control and placing huge pressure on communities.
Well, we are joined now by GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, good afternoon to you. The Home Secretary even expects to make a statement inside the House of Commons, but we think it's been delayed.
Yeah, listen, parliamentary statements are never an exact science because of parliamentary business, and it seems we've got 3 urgent questions that are going to come this afternoon. So it was expected that maybe 3:30 to 4:30 or so we could get Shabana Mahmood up there making her statement. It looks as though the earliest that's going to happen is 5 o'clock, so between 5 and 6:30 before her statement. Not that we need the statement, because we know it all anyway, because she's been leaking it, or her officials have, all weekend, which I'm sure that Sir Lindsay Hoyle will have something to say about when she actually just begins her speech, or just before she begins her speech to Parliament. But I think it will still be interesting, though, to listen less about her speech, more for the reaction from Labour MPs. see what some of those backbenchers say, see whether there is quite a lot of sort of kickback at this early stage from those backbenchers, because that could signal a real rebellion building.
Well,
I was just going to say, there's nothing Lindsay Hoyle can do about it, though, is there? I mean, you know, once the cat is well and truly out of the bag, I mean, you know, there he is. He can complain and he can whinge. What can he do, though?
I'm not sure exactly what sanctions he has available to him. He might have some. I don't know, but he will be angry. You know, that to an extent, will be embarrassing for ministers to get a public rebuke. Remember, this is the government that came into office saying that they were going to do things so very different to the way that the Conservatives had managed it, that they were going to be grown up about it. But actually, they have done this repeatedly in the 16 months since he came into power.
Mark, I'm getting a bit of deja vu here, because I remember when the Labour government had to really water down their welfare bill to please backbench Labour MPs who were threatening to revolt. We had the winter fuel payment U-turn as well. What realistically is going to be happening this time around with Labour MPs who really over the weekend have already started murmuring that this is going against all of their values?
Yeah, I mean, we might get, for instance, some of the more contentious elements that require a change to the European Convention on Human Rights. You know, that particular piece of legislation within our legal system that we abide by, that the Conservatives have now said they will scrap, as has Reform, and that anyone crossing the Channel will be deemed an illegal immigrant and will be removed from the country, if not back to their home country, to a safe third country. That's not the approach that Labour is taking. Labour is about tinkering with the ECHR, trying to make amendments. But in order to do that, you are going to have to be able to get those, you know, law changes through Parliament to be able to sort of, you know.
Yeah. These are the ones, aren't they? These legal rights, these human rights and ECHR reforms are about, you know, the big thing is the right to family life. Is that the one?
Well, that's one, absolutely. Article 8 of the ECHR, which has been used time and time again by those human rights lawyers who advocate on behalf of asylum seekers, who take it through to the various court hearings and appeals that take place, and often that rules in the favour of those who are being represented. And what the government wants to do is to try to narrow the parameters of that Article 8 so that there would still be Article 8, but it would only really relate to immediate members of an asylum seeker's family, so the likes of, you know, a spouse or a child, rather than extended family members that it's often used for at the moment successfully.
OK, Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, thank you very much for joining us. And Penny, I mean, one thing's for certain, none of this is going to change overnight, is it? There's going to be months of debate and legislation and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and legislation is the thing, is the legislation is key, because this is what's happened in the past, is the fact that they don't make the legislation kind of watertight enough so that actually they can keep on going and getting it rescinded very easily. Now, elsewhere in politics, there are rumours that the former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner is sharpening her knife for a potential leadership contest.
Yes, and this comes after a absolutely spectacular week, really, very dramatic week for the Labour Party, in which Health Secretary Wes Streeting denied plotting against the Prime Minister and called out a toxic culture in Number 10.
Let's get the latest from our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Yes, secrets and shenanigans going on in the corridors of power, Olivia.
Yes, well, whatever well-briefed cabinet ministers are saying to journalists, there is certainly an appetite for a new leader in Number 10. Labour's approval rating is at its lowest since the 2007-2008 financial crash at just 18%. Now, Starmer's allies, who I've spoken to, say that their man needs to stay in Number 10, because what happens if a leadership contest is triggered? It would take 80 MPs for a leadership contest to be triggered. They would have to put their support behind one candidate. And what Starmer's allies say is you have the risk of either right-wing by Labour's terms, candidate being selected, someone like Shabana Mahmood or Wes Streeting, in which case they would be unlikely to get the support that would be needed from Labour Party members to actually become Prime Minister, in which case you make your party look a laughingstock to the country, and you make the markets jittery, and you divert party spending away from the May local elections, only in order for nothing whatsoever to change. Keir Starmer would remain Prime Minister. Or you have a scenario where a left-wing candidate puts themselves forward, manages to win the backing of party members. Party members tend to be a little more left-wing in the Labour Party than the Parliamentary Labour Party, the MPs, in which case that person could end up winning a leadership contest, but then they could get into number 10. They would spook the markets, they would make an enemy of Donald Trump immediately. This is what Starmer's allies are saying, and it would be a disaster for the country. So that is why Starmer's allies are saying he has got to stay in number 10. But the idea of Angela Rayner making a comeback, extraordinary as it seems, given that she was booted out less than 2 months ago for failing to pay a 40 grand stamp duty fee, she would actually be quite a good happy medium in the party. While she was deputy leader, she managed to unite left and right of the party, and her allies say that she could do that as Prime Minister. Not to mention the fact, of course, that lots of people think that Keir Starmer is lacking that sort of warmth and charisma that makes a compelling Prime Minister, and Angela Rayner, like her or loathe her, has that in spades. So I think Keir Starmer's allies are actually getting really quite worried about this prospect, not least because Angela Rayner has joined a group called Tribune, a Labour pressure group that has 70 backbench Labour MPs in it. It's looking to get 100 backbench Labour MPs. That is a pretty big caucus. If they threw their weight behind Angela Rayner, she'd have a very real chance of triggering a leadership contest into Keir Starmer. Remember, it only takes 80 MPs for a leadership contest to be triggered.
Ms. Olivia, when all of this toxic number 10 culture is continuing, the government's clearly is doing less, giving less energy to governing the country. So, for example, you know, we've got the papers briefing this morning, or alleging this morning, that the Prime Minister's top aide, Morgan McSweeney, was in a shouting match with the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. Is there any truth in that?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, people in Labour are being pretty tight-lipped about whether this shouting match actually occurred. But when you listen to what Wes Streeting was saying to journalists very openly last week, toxic culture in number 10, the blame was clearly laid at Morgan McSweeney's feet. There are figures very close to Keir Starmer who think it is time to get rid of Morgan McSweeney. And as you say, Cameron, it means that attention is diverted away from governing the country. For Labour as well, there is a problem in that the May local elections are now just around the corner. Those are widely expected to be a bloodbath for Labour, and the idea of this sort of internal infighting carrying on right up till May is very worrying for Labour. But that said, a leadership contest would obviously divert funds away from the elections, something that Labour doesn't want either.
Olivia, thank you very much. It is now time for the Great British Giveaway, and there are just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us. £40,000 in tax-free cash. You've got shopping vouchers and a GB News festive goodie bag. So don't miss out. Here are all the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash, so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show, including the Tories warning that working families will be more than £1,000 worse off as a result of Rachel Reeves's looming stealth tax raid. We'll be speaking to an economist next. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 1:25, and we should just say before we break, we were speaking about Angela Rayner's reported leadership bid, but a source close to Miss Rayner has dismissed the claims as total rubbish on Saturday night, insisting that she was focused on representing her local community.
Yeah. So let's move on. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, is expected to announce a milkshake tax in the budget next Wednesday.
Yes, and she hopes ending this sugar tax exemption on milk-based drinks could raise up to £100 million, a drop in the ocean, really, of a £20 billion black hole. And this could cost working families more than £1,000.
Yeah, we can now speak to economics expert Justin Urquhart-Stewart. So, milkshake tax, and that's it. It's pretty much sorted.
I can't believe it. You've actually gone from something straightforward as income tax and national insurance. We can understand that, straightforward. The numbers are big, done. Maybe unpopular, but it's clear. Now you're going to end up a milkshake tax? What? And this reminds you, do you remember, go back to the days of Mr Osborne and his omni-shambles when he had a pasty tax?
Oh, yes, and, I do remember the pasty tax.
Is it a cooked pasty or is it not a cooked pasty? The one gets VAT, the other doesn't. Little things like that, and suddenly the whole of that budget started falling apart. And that's the problem. If she's now going to go into such detail as milkshake taxes, That's where you're going to find so many more problems and loopholes and difficulties, and you end up looking stupid, raising, as you said, a tiny amount compared with
I think that's
billions.
the point, isn't it? Because the thing is, if you just said anything with sugar in it, how about that? That would be so much easier.
Yep, well, that's
Although would alcohol then sort of like come into the same... Well, and
Yes.
except that then, of course, you know, with alcohol, they're already trying to bring the alcoholic content down to avoid that tax.
But you end up with all these sin taxes, you know, whether it's an airport tax or using too much fuel, or whether it's alcohol, or whether it's sugar, or actually just in terms of the amount of fat you've got in there. They've already started doing these things, and they can add a bit more, but they don't actually do anything in terms of the underlying issue, which is you've got to try and close the gap. What you've got to be able to do is close that as quickly as you possibly can and create confidence, get confidence back in so that companies, and you can see what's happening at the moment, the economy is not getting better because people are sitting there saying, I'm not going to move house or spend more money till this budget's over. I'm not going to invest more money in this business, set it up. So you're putting the brakes on everything. It's stupid.
And meanwhile, of course, it's been reported that Rachel Reeves is considering freezing the threshold of income tax. So, for example, the policy drags more people into the higher tax bands because people are being paid more wages over the 50 grand threshold and having to pay 40% tax.
Yes, it's fiscal drag, you know, which is cross-dressing accountants, the old line they had on that. But they've been doing it for years because it's a self-tax, because, you know, you don't notice that until you realise you're actually spending more, paying more tax. It's not actually income tax has gone up or down. And so it's one of those elements that sort of people don't really take much notice of. But it's an old trick, but it does actually raise them quite a lot of money.
See, I think the problem is that we're all very good, aren't we? It's a bit like sort of, you know, shouting at the television when football's happening, and everybody's saying, "Oh, the ref was blind. Oh, that was a foul. That was it, and that was that." The problem is, what should they be doing? Because to actually get everything moving, the markets moving, sort of, you know, to tamp everything down, really they'd be better off spending, but they can't spend because to actually finance this enormous black hole is taking all their money.
What they can do is, before they spend any money at all, actually go back to that word confidence. And how do you do that? Well, you might make sure by way of guarantees, in terms of things like enterprise investment schemes and things like that, encouraging more businesses to set up whereby part of their capital and investment has got a guarantee. It costs the government nothing until the company goes bust. Some, of course, will. We set up hundreds of thousands of new companies in this country, far more than anybody else. Not far more, but a lot more. We're really rather good at it.
Yeah, we are very enterprising.
And it's our largest employer of the small businesses. They're the ones you need to nurture. So there are lots of things you can do there without costing money. You could also say to them, right, for the first 5 years, if you are profitable, which you probably won't be, but you're not going to be, you know, not going to be paying any corporation tax. Encourage people to have the confidence to say, OK, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm actually going to invest my money in this or put the house on the market or whatever it is you have to do as an entrepreneur to get going. But I'm getting some support from the government without their money, and that way you can change that confidence attitude. Meanwhile, you have to take your basic budget itself and make sure that starts balancing, and the main thing with that is making sure the markets believe you. And they believe you when they understand what's going on. And if you start having ice cream and milkshake taxes, the market will just say you're playing games with us again, and you'll find the cost of debt will go up.
Fiddling about round the reaches, aren't you?
The Treasury says that we do not comment on speculation because, of course, a lot of this is speculation. We don't know what's going to be in the budget at the end of the month. But the Chancellor will deliver a budget that takes the fair choices to build strong foundations to secure Britain's future. What do you think they mean by fair choices?
It's probably hair colourant of some kind. I have absolutely no idea what they mean at all. But this is a
strawberry blonde.
It's that would be it, but they go well. No, it is a charade. Do you remember the days you used to have purdah? You know, and you would actually action would be taken against anybody who was leaking beforehand. Of course, now with budgets that are a sieve, so you've murdered purdah. And I can understand them sort of flying a few kites saying what's going to work. No, good communication on this is actually make sure you have a firm, consistent line. If you want to start flying kites, do so through, you know, your various focus groups and things like that, but not through the media, because you just make yourself look weak and really indecisive.
Justin, have you actually ever had a word with them? I mean, genuinely. I mean, who is advising them? I mean, in all seriousness, though, this is the thing that I don't understand. I mean, obviously, you know, I got economics A-level, so I know everything. But really, who is actually speaking?
And this is one of the problems, is that days gone by, civil service, we all saw Yes Minister and things like that.
We did.
They joined the civil service for years, but they stayed in one area. So they were in the Treasury. That's where you were. That was your career. Now, modern HR policies. You spend 3 years there. Now you're going to pensions. Now you're going to the Foreign Office. Still very bright people, but they've lost the depth of knowledge and expertise. Then you've got the politicians who obviously don't have the expertise. They've never run a business. So they don't know. So your people are sort of fumbling around as to what they should be doing.
So actually, if they came to you now and they said, that bloke with the braces, he talks a lot of sense with his purder murder and all the rest of it, how about that? Would you say, yes, I will come and advise you?
I don't advise anybody to actually, because most of it's common sense. No, leave the politics out of it. We have to actually be able to make sure we balance our books, just as you would with any other household. It takes time and it's painful, but also give people reward for doing so. That's it. We're going to have to pay extra for this, but in 3 or 4 years' time, we're going to actually give a tax break on whatever it happens to be. Maybe you actually get people say, I will give you a break on your inheritance tax for your grandparents, because actually you're going to be paying more money now, but you'll get a break in the future for that. You're being some benefit to you for actually playing the game.
Well, I'm voting you for Chancellor, Justin.
Well, I was just thinking of that as well.
Yeah.
Just thinking, why not? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you very much for joining us.
pleasure.
Stuart there.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming on today's show.
Including 6 police officers who arrested Maxi and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school. Well, the police have now had to pay them 20 grand in damages. All of that and much more after your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. 1:33, the top story this lunchtime. The government's set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. But refugee groups say it's just another gimmick that won't work. A couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group say police have paid them £20,000 in damages. Rosalind Levine and Maxi Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accused the force of policing free speech. Officers have been investigating claims of harassment. President Trump's calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's crackdown on student protesters, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Security has been tightened across Bangladesh, with fresh protests already breaking out. And a cold weather alert is now in force across much of England as snow and ice hits. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight. That is the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the headlines for now. Cameron and Penny straight back with you after this.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below zero here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east, it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast, and there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A9 southbound from Inveralmond to Broxton is congested due to a broken down vehicle. In Lincolnshire, the A1 northbound between the A151 and A607 is delayed due to an incident with one lane closed. On the M40 southbound exit slip at junction 10 in Oxfordshire, expect restrictions due to a broken down vehicle. In Somerset, an accident on the M5 southbound between junctions 22 and 23 reduces traffic flow to one lane. And on the trains, cross-country services between Truro and Penzance and Gatwick Express services at Brighton are disrupted. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Now, a couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group say police have paid them £20,000 in damages.
Yes, 6 police officers arrested Maxie and Rosalind Allen earlier this year for WhatsApp comments made about their daughter's primary school.
Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accuse the force of policing free speech.
Well, we are joined now by the teacher, Aisha Ali Khan. Aisha, good afternoon to you. The police warned the parents, then the police went and arrested them. But of course, what everyone's talking about is, was it slightly heavy-handed having 6 police officers to arrest a couple of parents in front of their daughter for WhatsApp messages?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I've followed the story since it happened, and it was, 3 police cars parked outside, and so on. It was heavy-handed, and we still don't know what the messages were that led to the arrest. They've never been released either by the parents, either by the school, or even by the police. So we still have no idea on what basis the police felt they had enough to arrest this couple. But obviously now they've admitted that it was a mistake, and they've paid quite a large sum, to be fair. £20,000 is not a small sum, and that's been paid to the couple, which obviously will come out of public funds, sadly.
Yeah, arrested on suspicion of harassment and malicious communications. Just thought we'd actually widen this out a bit, because you're head teacher, and we know that there are parents who do repeatedly contact a school who are very proactive, perhaps. And I just wanted to move away from this and talk about the side when it's actually about teachers dealing with parents who are very keen on getting their point over, and how difficult it is as a teacher, for example, to actually deal with some parents. As I said, I'm not talking about this, not talking about this story at all, moving it away.
No, absolutely, Penny. I mean, I've been teaching 21 years, and over the years I have come across really zealous parents who, they want to get their point across, like you've said. And some parents have been pretty relentless. But on the whole, again, this kind of highlights the difference between, say, for example, working class parents and middle class parents. I've worked with schools, inner city schools, schools linked to council estates where children who attend are from a very, very low socioeconomic background. Parents might be on benefits generationally as well. And these are the sort of parents who will never get in touch with the school because they just don't have the confidence, or they don't have the language skills, or they just don't know that they can. On the other hand, you'll have parents who are relentless, and they're constantly calling, and they want to set up meetings and so on. So it's about finding the right balance for a school, how to keep parents happy, how to keep the students happy, how to look after the students and make sure that the needs are met, but also how to keep teachers happy as well, because we have such a high workload as it is, constantly dealing with the latest changes in legislation. We've got all these league tables. I know literally when results are about to come out, and the stress parents go under and students go under, but also teachers as well, because it's a reflection of how we work, and how well we've taught, and how well success is always measured by numbers, and and I think that's really unfair. And over the years I've spoken about this, because teachers do so much more than help children pass exams. We're there as social workers, we're there as friends, as support networks and so on, and that always gets kind of overlooked when people want to criticize schools and teachers, sadly.
And Aisha, you mentioned you've been teaching for 21 years. In that time, have you seen a progression into when it comes to disciplining a child, for example, or the behaviour of individual pupils or students? There was a time where parents usually would take the side of the teachers and say, well, you must have done something wrong to their child. You need to accept the consequences, accept the punishment. Is there now a situation where it's the reverse is true, where parents tend to take the side of the child, and therefore discipline is becoming an increasing problem? And as you say, teachers are having an increasingly difficult time.
Absolutely, Cameron. Over the years, we've seen a massive change in behaviour standards, and that's one of the reasons why teachers are leaving. Recruitment is so hard, and literally you have young teachers coming through, and it's really tough for them because they are trying to juggle all these requirements of teaching and then the behaviour on top. And if you don't have a really good structure in place that supports the teacher, and that also includes support from the parent as well, by the way, it's impossible to teach, especially because the class sizes have, gone, 20, 25, 30, 35 plus. Some schools, sadly, inner city schools will have children well over 30 in a classroom. And schools are not designed, by the way, schools, especially the older schools, are not designed to have that many students. So it's always very claustrophobic and crowded. But going back to your point, Cameron, yes, absolutely. We've seen a massive decline in the behaviour of students. That's kind of coupled with a lack of discipline at home, but also the rise of handheld devices, the laptops and the social media, children coming in yawning, they've not had enough sleep, children coming in late. I remember there was a social experiment. One of the schools changed their opening times to, I think it was 9:30, and it just transformed. The children kept on, obviously came in on time. They were more alert, and it was because children were not getting enough sleep at home. And parents, obviously, that's the kind of area that parents need to take responsibility of, and many parents sadly don't. So that we are facing, nearly all the teachers that I went to school with, and I went to when I did my teaching degree, 2004, by the way, nearly all the teachers, I think I'd say 10% are still in education 20 odd years later, because
the rest of them have actually left. I'm sorry, Aisha. Yeah, thank you, Aisha. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you. That is teacher Aisha Ali Khan there. Yeah, it's quite staggering, isn't it? Particularly the mobile phone thing.
Yeah, certainly is. Hertfordshire Police and Crime Commissioner, they have spoken on this specific story about the two parents being arrested for malicious communications. And they said that there has clearly been a fundamental breakdown in relationships between a school and parents that shouldn't have become a police matter.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, we have lots more coming up on today's show, including fly tippers who've dumped hundreds of tons of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire, and the removal costs is greater than the entire annual budget of the local district's council.
All of that more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, we say small flag. It was 30 feet across, 24 feet high. But, so I suppose it's relative. But it had a brand through the middle of it, or a campaign really, to says flytheflag.uk. Yeah. Because if we just put up a Union flag, then people would just go, a Union flag. Oh, by the way, I'm just going to correct that. Everybody tries to pull you up, but it's not a Union Jack. Well, I decided we all know it better as the Union Jack. No other country has got a Union Jack. They've got a flag of the country. So I'm no longer going to accept people trying to pull us up for that. Yep. But anyway, so we put it on there so that people would identify that we're trying to do something, not just another flag. Yeah. So the council didn't like that because they said it's not a flag, it's an advertisement. Well, I'm not too bothered. There was a bit of a mistake on the proofing as well, which is ironic because the company that manufactured it was actually based in Clown in Chesterfield, UK printing company, and they made a mistake and I didn't really spot it because I was out of the country. All right. So that also caused a problem. But I thought, well, I'm not just going to take it down because of that. I own the building. Let's just see what happens. So I thought, no, out of principle, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to leave it up and let's if you want to take us to court, if you want to waste taxpayers' money, I'll fight it out of principle.
So Chesterfield councillors, they clutched their pearls, but what's been the reaction in the community?
I would say 98, 99% positive. People going past, popping the router, thumbs up. Of the various different videos and images that have been up, we think we're nearly 3 million views, which is an estimate, but 99%, you're always going to get some dissenters. Some people want to call it racist, fascist. Just, I think it's just the easy tropes to chuck out there that they've chucked out so much that they've lost all their meaning, really.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
A massive fly tipping scandal is unfolding in rural Oxfordshire, where a 20-foot mountain of plastic foam and wood stretching the length of almost 2 football pitches has been illegally dumped just metres from the River Cherwell.
It's awful. Discovered by anglers and blamed on organised crime, environmental groups warn it's an environmental catastrophe in plain sight and says every day of inaction risks toxic runoff, poisoning local wildlife.
We're joined now by Erica Pothole, who is campaign manager at River Action. Good afternoon to you. It's just so awful, this mountain. I mean, we've seen pictures of it. Oh, sorry, Charlie Henry. I'm so sorry. Charlie Henry, environmentalist, sorry, who's at the site. Charlie, hello. Oh, right.
Well, of course, one of the main issues, of course, with
is
the fly
fact
tipping...
that, A, I don't know the name, and we haven't got...
It's fine. But, of course, no one's getting any consequences because they haven't caught the perpetrators, and that is one of the main issues. But hopefully we can show you quite how bad this fly tipping situation is with Charlie Henry, who we believe is at the site now. Charlie, hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you mind just describing for our radio listeners what's going on at that site that you are right now? What can you see?
Well, I'm not sure if you can see behind me, but behind me there's the beautiful River Cherwell, and it looks incredibly serene, sunlit. It's actually, the river levels are quite high currently, so it's a bit in flood. And if I just turn slightly here, you can see behind me there's a little stream, which is a tributary to the River Cherwell and a tributary to the Thames. And as I turn like this behind me, this is the waste. And
awful.
So...
It's like a mountain, Charlie.
It's massive. I've climbed up it. It's huge. There's styrofoam in it, plastics in it, wood in it, mixed up insulation boards, plasterboards. I saw a Lego piece. I've seen letters from people. And it's an environmental catastrophe that we're witnessing here in Oxfordshire at this moment. And I call upon the government to act now. I call on the army to come and deal with this. This is an environmental disaster unfolding. And if we don't act soon, these plastics are going to fall into the river and contaminate our waters. We don't know what's in here. There could be lead. There could be other poisonous chemicals that are leaching into our drinking water, and we could be drinking them. So this is
I've just looked at the Charlie. Sorry to butt in there, but I'm just looking at the estimated clean-up costs. Exceeds £25 million. £25 million to clear up that appalling mess, which is more than the entire annual budget of the local council.
Yes, but we have to think about the costs of not clearing up that, because the costs of health. I mean, we all know about microplastics currently, don't we? And the damage that they can do to humans. But what we don't know so much about, or we don't read so much about, is the toxins that leak into our water table. And currently, the River Cherwell and the River Thames, this is drinking water for much of the southeast of the UK. So if we don't act now to kind of create a border and start stopping this plastic contaminating the water, it's going to have really dire health consequences that will cost significantly more than 25 million, I believe.
Yeah.
And Charlie, presumably this didn't happen overnight, just very briefly. This was a build-up over time and nothing's been done about it.
Well, I mean, I'm not investigating that and I'm not really at liberty to comment on it. But what I do know is that the Environmental Agency was alerted in October. We've looked at satellite imaging, which you can find on Google Earth. You can see the site being cleared in May and June and July. The smell here is really horrible.
Cool. Charlie, I'm so sorry. We're running out of time, but hopefully this can be sorted out. Now, here is your weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold, deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below zero here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving. across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east, it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast. And there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us, it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Monday, the 17th of November. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Penny Smith.
I will announce the most significant changes to our asylum system in modern times.
The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, tells countries to take back their citizens or face a total visa ban. What will the human rights lawyers think about that?
Well, before Shabana Mahmood has even stood up in the Commons, a growing number of Labour MPs say they're opposed to the changes.
We'll get the latest on Donald Trump's BBC lawsuit as the chairman of the corporation says that they'll fight any legal challenge from Donald Trump. We're going to be joined by a media lawyer shortly.
Fly tippers have dumped hundreds of tons of waste stacked 10 metres high in a field in Oxfordshire, and the removal cost is greater than the entire annual budget of the local district council. And we will hopefully bring you some live shots very shortly.
Is this the start of winter? Large parts of the country are under a cold weather alert from today with snowfall on the cards. We're going to be joined by Aidan McGibbon from the Met Office.
Well, we've been getting very angry this afternoon about fly tippers and specifically about this mound of rubbish, Penny.
Mountain.
Mountain.
It is actually, it is almost a small mountain. It really is. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, in the River Cherwell. So these are pictures you're watching on television. Have a look on our social media channels if you're listening on the radio, because it's lead, it's plastic, it's metal, but what's more annoying...
It's foam, it's all sorts of stuff, yeah. And in fact, as we were hearing from Charlie Henry earlier, who's an environmentalist, she was saying even letters from people. And I was just thinking, well, hold on a second. If it's letters, why can they not check those letters, see where this house... I mean, I'm assuming that what happens often with fly tippers, it's not the person concerned, because they hire somebody to go and get rid of stuff if they're doing house building or whatever else. And then the point is, the reason that people fly tip is because the council charges for waste.
Yes.
So...
But also, of course, there seems to be no consequences for people fly tipping. They never get caught. The people who have done this fly tipping are still at large. There's calls now for more police officers or more enforcement officers to find these people. As you were saying earlier, Penny, why don't you just, put cameras up near where the fly tipping is happening and try and stop it? Lots of you have been getting in touch with your suggestions. gbnews.com/your say. Frank says fly tippers, whether it's their rubbish or other people's rubbish, should be formed into chain gangs. There's an old-fashioned thing for you, and made to clean up their own mess.
Yeah, that's if you ever find them. That's the problem, though, isn't it? And it's very quick, and it often happens at night, as we know.
Yeah.
In the few cases where they have actually been caught has been night.
And we've been saying, of course, that to clean up this particular amount of rubbish is going to cost £25 million, more than the local council's budget. Richard says that it should be up to the minister responsible to do something about it, i.e. central government. And we spoke to, as you've been saying, Charlie Henry, the environmentalist, earlier, saying that the army should get involved. What do you think about that? Should it be the army? Should it be the local district council's problem?
I mean, the other way of doing it is that you have the councils will actually sort it for free, and then they pass on the cost in some way to the person who's doing the... So every time you do a house build, maybe, or whatever else, if ever you've got a skip, I don't know, that you pay an extra small amount of money so that actually that waste gets taken away. Maybe that's the way to do it. I don't know.
Quite possibly. But at the end of the day, regardless of the obviously environmental problems, it's very unsightly. It's ruining the great British countryside, which we all know and love.
And it's toxic. It's a real environmental issue. This is near the River Cherwell, which is the second biggest tributary of the Thames. So it's actually putting this disgusting stuff into the Thames.
Well, if you've got a solution for the government or the local council of how to get rid of this mound of rubbish, do let us know. gbnews.com/your say. Now it's your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. At 4 minutes past 2, the top story. Well, sweeping reforms to the UK's asylum system will be announced this afternoon. Under the plans, asylum seekers will be returned home once their country is deemed safe, and most will face a 20-year wait before applying for permanent settlement. Deportations will also be sped up when claims are rejected, with a new drive to cut multiple appeals and close off routes that ministers say are being used to delay removals. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is also threatening visa bans on 3 African countries if they fail to cooperate on taking back illegal migrants. But the overhaul is already proving divisive. Some ministers are uneasy and several Labour MPs have publicly criticised the changes, while the Conservatives say the package contains lots of gimmicks. A couple in Hertfordshire say police have paid them damages after they were arrested in January for comments made in a parents' WhatsApp group about their daughter's primary school. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen were held for 11 hours after officers said they needed to investigate claims of harassment and malicious communications, but no charges were brought. And the couple now say they're very unhappy with the force, arguing that people under investigation are often given almost no information about why they're being targeted. They warn that cases like theirs make people look like the police are policing free speech when investigations collapse. Also this hour, the chair of the BBC has told staff there that there is no basis for a defamation case after Donald Trump announced plans to sue the corporation for up to £5 billion over an edited Panorama clip. In an internal email today, Samir Shah said the BBC is determined to fight and is mindful of its duty to protect licence fee payers amid speculation over potential legal costs. It follows Trump's accusation that the broadcaster cheated by altering his January the 6th speech, despite the BBC already apologising for what it called an error of judgment in the edit. Police say organised gangs are using increasingly sophisticated tactics to steal cargo from lorries across the UK, including buying legitimate haulage companies, then collecting the loads and disappearing with the goods. The Road Haulage Association says the money is fuelling wider criminal networks, warning thieves are becoming more intelligent and now using cybercrime to target high-value items. Last year, the value of stolen goods jumped by nearly 2/3, even as the number of incidents actually fell, a sign criminals now need to slash fewer curtains to know exactly what's worth taking. In the US, President Trump has dramatically called on Republicans to vote to release government files on Jeffrey Epstein, marking a sharp shift from his previous position. He's now under growing pressure from within his own party after Democrats began releasing documents referencing Trump and other high-profile figures. Mr. Trump has, though, always denied any link to Epstein's crimes, but in a late-night post, he insisted Republicans have nothing to hide, as dozens now signal they're ready to break ranks and back the bill. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's brutal crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Hasina, tried while in exile in India, has called the verdict biased and politically motivated. The ruling puts pressure on New Delhi to now extradite her, though at this stage it seems unlikely. Security is now tightening across Bangladesh as protests have erupted over the verdict. And a cold weather warning is in effect. Snow and ice expected as temperatures plunge. The UK Health Security Agency has issued an alert for the East and West Midlands, the North East, North West and Yorkshire running right through to next week. It follows the coldest night since March over the weekend, where temperatures dropped to -7 in the Scottish Highlands. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you in half an hour. Next, though, a quick look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
8 minutes past 2, here are the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3167 and €1.1348. The price of gold is £3,095, 75 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,692 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Welcome back. The time is 9 minutes past 2, and let's return to our lead story, which is the Home Secretary set to introduce some of the government's toughest measures, at least that's what she calls it, on illegal migration, with countries that refuse to take back failed asylum seekers or foreign criminals to face a total visa ban. And speaking this afternoon, the Prime Minister's spokesperson said the current pace and scale of illegal migration is out of control and placing huge pressure on the communities.
Yeah, we're joined now by GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. And we've talked to you before and said the thing is, we know so much about this now, we almost don't need to listen.
No, I think the interesting thing in the statement is not the statement itself, but what will the reaction be, particularly from members of our own party. We've had some Labour MPs come out very publicly and oppose this already at this early stage. There's no doubt there are aspects of what the Home Secretary is proposing here that they will find difficult to swallow. Those on the left of the party in particular, the narrowing, for instance, of the parameters around Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. That's the right to a family life. Shabana Mahmood just wants that to involve very close family members, i.e. a spouse or a child. Other elements, of course, making asylum a temporary process, that there should be an expectation, should the situation improve in your home country, that you should return to that home country. There are many people that will say, you know, that those coming here, when they're here for any period of time, they settle, they put down roots, and that's, of course, how they can then claim, often under Article 8, a right to a family life, to be able to stay here. So there's lots of controversial aspects potentially to this. I'm not sure there's anything in what the Home Secretary has already pre-briefed out that in itself is going to make a significant difference. Everything taken in the round, I think the government hopes will have an impact. But even then, they say there's no silver bullet, that it's all part of a wider process of trying to make a hostile environment for those who are crossing illegally into the UK, and to make it much more difficult to claim asylum and for some of the benefits of being an asylum seeker in this country not to be as generous as they have been in the past, such as accommodation.
Yes, and the government appears to be trying to reduce the pull factors, so a sliding scale of visa sanctions for the countries who refuse to take that. They're illegal migrants, Article 8, we've been saying, right to family life, stop judges prioritising that, and all the rest of it. But the problem is, Mark, even if the government's saying they're going to do all these tough measures, and it does, in theory, would be reducing the pull factors, you have a lot of very left-leaning Labour backbenchers who, which we've seen previously, have kind of held the government to ransom and not allowed them to get these tough measures through, and therefore the watered-down measures won't make much of a difference when it comes to deterring illegal immigrants.
No, I think the biggest challenge here certainly could be trying to convince those rebellious backbenchers that this is a policy worth pursuing. As I say, we saw the absolute, you know, embarrassing climb down that the government was forced into when they were trying to make savings in the welfare bill, and had to make so many changes that effectively it amounted to nothing in terms of savings that they were able to make. And if we get the same kind of rebellion this time around, it could be even more problematic, because this is an issue that is of such importance to people right around the country. Probably the number one topic for many people right around the country is the issue of migration, and in particular illegal migration, the strains that they see it putting on social cohesion in their communities, as well as the sort of the day-to-day impact of not being able to get, you know, the doctor's appointments, a place in school, and all of the above.
OK, thank you, Mark White, Home Security Editor.
Yeah, and we're now joined by Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, that's Graham Stringer. And Graham, as we've said, you know, the point is that quite a lot of what the Home Secretary is going to be saying a bit later on appears to have been leaked. I'm assuming that there is nothing that's going to change on that. But what are the parts that you're in favour of, and which are the parts that you're not in favour of what we've heard so far?
I see it as a first step. It's much better than the idea that had no credibility whatsoever of smashing the gangs. We can't smash the gangs in Liverpool and Birmingham and London, so why we should be able to smash gangs operating on an international basis, I never understood. It was not a credible policy. Some of the things that Shabana, I believe, will propose later this afternoon are good. It takes the pull factor out of it. It makes this country less attractive. It says no, some people won't be given asylum, and it alters the rights, not the rights, it alters the basis of appeal. I don't think it goes far enough. I don't think we will get anywhere in dealing with this problem, and it is a problem. The electorate sees it as a problem. It's an economic problem until we actually get out of the European Convention on Human Rights.
Presumably, as you say, you don't think these measures go far enough, and yet we're hearing that there are perhaps a number of other Labour MPs who are concerned that these are actually too harsh measures coming from a Labour government and therefore will not support the government on this. What are you hearing from talking to other Labour MPs in terms of the support for Shabana Mahmood's proposals? But also the other point, of course, is this clearly is an issue for the electorate. Labour is not doing well in the polls, so surely the Labour backbenchers as a whole need to kind of get behind the government on an issue like this if they want to win the next election.
I think there will have to be a major debate within the Parliamentary Labour Party, but your fundamental point I agree with, and I think it will be more persuasive than ministers at the end of the day. MPs who wish to stand for election again and get elected have to convince their electorate, and this is always within the top three issues of concern to the electorate. So if MPs don't get behind it in this or a slightly modified or increased form, then the electorate will take their revenge, I think. I think that's much more important than the debate with Shabana, who is, I think, going down the correct road on this issue. She may have to go a bit further and a bit faster, but eventually we have to solve this problem, or the electorate will take its revenge on us. Because fundamentally, forgetting the details of asylum policy, if a government can't actually decide who is coming into this country, if they don't know who is coming into this country, they're not a government.
Yeah. Graham, thank you very much. That's Graham Stringer there, Labour MP. Yes, there are so many other things in this that we haven't really talked about, but like, for example, you limit failed asylum seekers to one appeal only, for example. I mean, as you were talking about, you know, there are certain things that a lot of people would not object to.
Yes.
You know, just leave it at one.
And of course there is allegations that lawyers perhaps are making a lot of money out of failed asylum claims because asylum seekers sometimes just keep doing appeal after appeal after appeal, gets clogged up in the courts, and then of course they never leave. Lots of you of course have been getting in touch as well on this. gbnews.com/yoursay if you want to join the conversation. Bob says stop all legal aid for migrants, and also stop paying on the lawyer point. Stop paying charities that provide legal aid to the migrants. And Adrian says to stop the boats, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, needs to stop all the benefits that they receive when they arrive here. If you give them nothing, they won't come. I suppose the problem is when they do arrive on a small boat, where are they going to go?
Well, they'd live on the streets then and make it. You'd just have that problem as well.
Yeah.
You just have more problems. Just pushing the can... What do they say? Kicking the can down the road.
But that's happening in central London. You see it in Hyde Park Corner and Park Lane, all these migrant tents kind of springing up near Winter Wonderland, which of course is meant to be a family-friendly thing. There's concerns about that. And, the council have nowhere to put them, so it's a really delicate balance here. The issue is, of course, trying to, as Shabana Mahmood is trying to do, reduce the pull factor to stop them coming in the first place, but we just don't know if it's going to happen. But it has happened in Denmark.
I was just about to mention about Denmark, because there are also various things that you just think, well, why has this not happened before? For example, learn how to speak the language.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Danish is different, and there are cases for the reason why people come to Britain is because English is often a second language for people. But yes, there are other things. And extend the wait for permanent settlement from 5 years to 20 years. I mean, some people think that's far too long, but anyway.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay. But elsewhere in politics, there are rumours that the former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, remember her, is sharpening her knives for a potential leadership contest, something she has described as total rubbish.
Yeah, this comes after a tumultuous week for the Labour Party, in which the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, denied plotting against the PM and called out a toxic culture in Number 10.
Well, let's get the latest from our political correspondent, Olivia Utley. Olivia, good afternoon to you. Well, there's lots of rumours flying around. We've had Angela Rayner's name, we've had Wes Streeting. Any others?
Shabana Mahmood as well. On the face of it, Angela Rayner seems like a pretty ridiculous idea. She was booted out of office just 2 months ago for failing to pay that £40,000 stamp duty bill. but she is very, very popular within the party. And while she was deputy leader, she was known as being able to do something pretty unique in Labour, which is unite the right and the left of the party. Party members trusted her. They tend to sway a little bit further to the left than the parliamentary party, but MPs quite liked her too. She was also seen as a really strong performer at the dispatch box, unlike her Deputy Prime Minister replacement, David Lammy, who didn't do a fantastic job at Deputy PMQs the other day. So the idea of Angela Rayner making a comeback, it shouldn't be laughed at. She also has joined a Labour internal group called Tribune. Now, that group has 70 backbench members as part of its caucus, and it's looking at extending that membership, according to people I've spoken to more like 100, maybe even 110. That would make it the biggest pressure group within the Labour Party. And if they, as a group, decided to throw their weight behind Angela Rayner, well, it would only take 80 Labour MPs to trigger a vote of no confidence in Keir Starmer. If 80 MPs backed any potential leader, that would trigger a vote of no confidence in Keir Starmer. The other thing going for Angela Rayner, of course, is that she would have the backing of the unions, which someone like Wes Streeting, now he's not on board at all with these doctor strikes, may not. So although there is a little bit of baggage, shall we say, when it comes to Angela Rayner, she does have the support of the right, she has the support of the left, party members like her, she actually goes down quite well with the electorate, and she's popular with trade unions. So stranger things have happened in politics.
Olivia, thank you very much. Actually, it's interesting because those of us with longer memories will remember the Deputy Prime Minister of the UK, who was John Prescott, who was very sort of on that same thing about kind of bringing people together.
Gosh, well, let us know your thoughts on that. gbnews.com/your say. And a source close to Angela Rayner actually has dismissed the claims that she is trying to get to the Prime Minister's job as total rubbish on Saturday night, insisting that she was focused on representing her local community.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more still to come on today's show.
The BBC chairman says they are determined to fight any Trump legal action, but will the president actually go ahead with it? We'll be joined by media lawyer next.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
The BBC chairman says that the BBC is determined to fight any Trump legal action. As the broadcaster said, there is no basis for a defamation case after Donald Trump said he'd sue the corporation for between $1 and $5 billion. But should he heed legal warning, it could be a challenging case to win.
Quite, and the media law specialist Mark Stephen joins us now. Mark, good afternoon to you. There's lots of legal experts in the United States who suggest that President Trump really doesn't have a hope in hell of winning this case.
Yeah, I mean, I think in colloquial terms, his case legally is like a dog with fleas. It's not a good case at all, and there are many, many impediments in the case before him and success. And those are things like the fact that the Panorama programme was never shown in America. And if it's not shown in America, how can he have been wronged in America, which is necessary to start a legal action? And how could people have thought the worse of him from a programme that wasn't seen by Americans? So it's a bit of a problem, this particular case.
So it's actually just the fact that President Trump is in America, it wasn't shown there, and that's it. Is that the only big barrier?
No, it's not, Penny. There's a whole series that come after that. So once you've demonstrated there was a problem and you can found jurisdiction in the court, then in those circumstances, the president would be susceptible to a motion to dismiss the claim on the basis that he is the president. The president is, of course, the ultimate public figure, and they have very different laws in America, which mean that public figures have to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes, libelous statements, and inaccurate statements. And only if they can show actual malice on the part of the BBC will he be able to go ahead. So that's another major impediment. And if you put that in the context that essentially it was genuinely fake news that the president was promulgating. He was saying that the election had been stolen from him entirely wrongly. And of course, he was getting everybody excited on the very day that his Vice President, Mike Pence, was getting ready to sign and certify the election results, which would have meant he lost. So I think it's very difficult to see how you could lower President Trump in the estimation of right-thinking people about this matter when essentially it's all predicated on the lie that he won the election. Does he really want to go to court to rerun all of those arguments again? I think not.
The question is, Mark, of course, for the BBC, is why did they feel the need to edit those two particular clips together within 45 minutes of the same speech when, as you suggest, there already was evidence that President Trump had riled up, essentially, some of the people in that crowd to do what they did? They didn't need to edit the clips to show that point.
No, I think they didn't at all. And I think that's a part of the defence, funnily enough. So many people think just because the BBC did something wrong, that it will sound as a libel claim. Of course, that's not right. They have to have done something wrong and have had it lower the President Trump in the estimation of right-thinking people. And of course, that means right-thinking people who saw the programme and ignoring all of the other coverage around January the 6th, still, as a result of Panorama, felt the less of him. It seems to me that laying the entire wreckage of January the 6th at the door of a programme that they've never seen is going to be a bit difficult. And of course, one of the issues that the BBC will have to try is, was the sting of what they said true? If there was some kind of incitement on the part of Donald Trump, that will be essentially true. And although the way they portrayed it was wrong, the essence of it was true and therefore hasn't lowered him in the estimation of right-thinking people. We've already had 9 federal court judges say that he was guilty of incitement, a court in DC itself, and of course he was impeached. So I think he's got a real problem with this case and he would be much better withdrawing.
OK, Mark, thank you. Thank you very much for putting it so succinctly, Mark Stephen there, medium law.
And just important to say, the President Trump, of course, does claim that that editing was deliberately misleading and defamatory.
Yeah. Right, time for the Great British Giveaway now.
And there are just 2 weeks left to grab your chance to enjoy Christmas on us this year. 40 grand in tax-free cash and shopping vouchers and a GB News festive goodie bag. So very exciting. Make sure you don't miss out. Here's all the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash, so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Winter has well and truly arrived as a cold weather alert is now in force across much of England as snow and ice hit.
And it looks like this cold weather could be here to stay. All of that and much more after your news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 2:30, the top story this hour. The government's set to rewrite parts of the Human Rights Act, aiming to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. The Home Secretary will unveil the overhaul in Parliament this afternoon. The changes will include fast-tracking the deportation of illegal migrants and plans to end multiple appeals against removal. The refugee groups say it's just another gimmick that won't work. A couple from Hertfordshire arrested for comments on a school WhatsApp group say police have paid them £20,000 in damages. Rosalind Levine and Maxie Allen say they were held for 11 hours and accused police of policing free speech. Officers have been investigating claims of harassment. President Trump is calling on Republicans to release secret files on Jeffrey Epstein, a U-turn from his earlier position. He says his party has nothing to hide ahead of a congressional vote expected tomorrow. In Bangladesh, the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been sentenced to death. She's been found guilty of ordering last year's crackdown on student protests, where the UN says up to 1,400 people were killed. Security's been tightened across the country, with fresh protests already breaking out this morning. And a cold weather alert's now been enforced across much of England as snow and ice hit. The Highlands dropped to -7 overnight, the UK's coldest night since March. Those are the headlines for now. Katie Bowen will have a full roundup for you at 3.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. A cold week to come wherever you are. However, there will be some nice wintry sunshine for many of us, particularly throughout today. But we do have a cold wind. We've got Arctic air pushing in from the north. You can see the very cold, deep blue colours across the far north of Scotland in particular. And here, any showers that do fall will likely fall as sleet and snow, particularly across the high ground of Scotland. Elsewhere, we're expecting mainly dry weather, but we will see a few showers across the northeast of England as well. And a cold wind here will bring temperatures down into the low single figures, or feeling much closer to the low single figures. Further west, plenty of sunshine. It will feel fairly pleasant in the sunshine, but definitely much colder than it has been lately. And temperatures will fall away quite quickly this evening once the sun goes down. Now, the risk of snow showers does continue for the far north of Scotland throughout tonight and into this evening. There's a risk of some icy stretches as well as we head into Tuesday morning here. A lot more cloud around across parts of Northern Ireland, so temperatures not falling below 0 here, but elsewhere across the bulk of England and Wales, it will be a chilly night to come and a cold start to the day on Tuesday. Now, as we look to the north and west, you can see more in the way of cloud and rain arriving across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and that will bring more of a focus for some sleet and snow throughout Tuesday morning. Further east, it should stay dry, but the cloud will build as the night goes on, so it'll probably be a slightly cloudier start to the day on Tuesday away from the far southeast, and there's going to be a greater risk of some rain, sleet and possibly some snow on the highest ground through Tuesday, particularly across parts of Scotland, parts of the Pennines. The very highest points of the Pennines could see some snow, but for most of us it's going to be a mix of rain and sleet. So a much cloudier and damper day for north and western areas. Temperatures still are below average and much colder than it has been lately. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A9, traffic is restricted southbound between Inverormond and Broxton due to a broken-down vehicle causing significant delays. In Sunderland, a blockage on the A19 northbound has led to one-lane closure at the A690 exit. Motorists on the M6 northbound in Lancashire are experiencing a complete shutdown between junctions 27 and 28 because of an overturned vehicle. Normal flow is expected to resume between 2:45 and 3 this afternoon. The M42 northbound in Warwickshire is encountering substantial 50-minute delays due to a serious collision between junctions 9 and 10. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Oh, it has reached... Well, I mean, are we in officially... We're not in winter, are we yet?
No.
I think December, January, February is officially winter, but my goodness, it has well and truly arrived. This cold weather alert now in force across lots of England as snow and ice hit. So, I mean, it's kind of pretty much everywhere going to be by the end of the week.
Yes, and I definitely have my winter coat for the first time this season.
We're all glad
this
about
morning.
that.
Yes, definitely. But what do you do? What do you need even to stay safe in these plummeting temperatures? Some of which can reach, I believe, -10 this week. But somebody who knows more about it than we do is Aidan McGibbon from the Met Office. Good afternoon to you, Aidan. So, what kind of weather are we expecting in the United Kingdom this week?
Well, as you mentioned, it's turned much colder. A big contrast compared with the last week when it was so mild. We've now got Arctic winds straight from the North Pole across the whole of the UK. That means a return to widespread overnight frost, the first proper wintry snap so far this season. And so a big shock to the system for many of us. Nothing particularly unusual for the end of November, but certainly a contrast nonetheless. For many of us, yes, cold overnights and by day a wind chill, but plenty of sunshine at the same time, so crisp late autumn days. But there will be some snow, and there's an area of rain, sleet and snow moving in overnight and into tomorrow from the northwest. That's mainly going to deliver snow to northern hills. It could be a little bit at lower levels in the north and across parts of Wales and the Midlands by the end of the day, but the most significant snow above 150 metres. And then we've got further snow showers Thursday and Wednesday, Thursday, coming in from the northeast. So northeast Scotland, northeast England, most prone to those, and some very significant amounts of snow building up, particularly, again, over hills.
It's funny, when I was growing up, I mean, essentially it was just, you got told the temperature and you just went, it's cold, and you put a coat on and a hat and a scarf and all the rest of it. But it's interesting how we started then bringing in this wind chill factor. And the wind chill factor makes a huge difference, doesn't it? It's a massive difference when you've got a wind up there as well.
It absolutely does. I mean, the way our bodies work is that we're constantly giving off heat. So we're radiating this heat from our interiors, and so we've got this layer surrounding us, keeping us warm. But of course, when the wind blows, it removes that layer. And so we feel much colder as a result. And yeah, if you wrap up warm, then you can help mitigate that. But the wind chill is so much more important than the actual temperature that's being recorded.
In the areas where there are snow and ice forecasts, is there the potential for travel disruption?
Absolutely, yeah, particularly on higher routes. So we're talking about the M74 in Scotland, the A9 in Scotland, Trans-Pennine routes, those sorts of areas. I think down at lower levels, not much snow at all, although some slippery surfaces here and there. But the main cause for travel disruption will be the snow building up on higher routes. And of course, when you get the first wintry snap of the year, that often causes more impacts than subsequent snaps because people aren't ready for them.
Yeah, and of course, Aidan, the other thing is that if you're a bit, perhaps not quite so nimble on your pins, then there is the propensity to slip over on these slippery surfaces, particularly if it's black ice. Actually, it's kind of almost easier when it's snow because you can see where it's going to be slippery. Problem is, of course, always driving or, in fact, in any other thing is actually black ice, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing, and people say that, you know, why are we warning for these things in this country when other places like Lapland get feet of snow every winter? But in some ways, it's the very small amounts of rain, sleet and snow and frosty nights in this country that can cause more issues than when you're knee-deep in snow, because it's that kind of black ice that you mentioned where you get a bit of sleetiness and then it freezes. That can be more troubling for people on their feet or cyclists than the proper deep stuff.
Aidan, just very briefly, what is the coldest part of a night? Is there a bit where, is there a part of the night where you go, this from now on will get slightly mild? Do you know, is it one of those things or is it not? That is not a thing.
No, it is a thing. And there's a saying, isn't there? It's always cold. It's always darkest before dawn or coldest before dawn or something. But it's actually half an hour after the sun rises is the coldest part of the night. So it gets colder and colder through the night.
New bit of info. Half an hour after dawn.
After dawn. On one of those nights where it's clear all night and the winds are light, the coldest is half hour after the sun rises.
Just when I'm getting out of bed and my heating hasn't turned on, Aidan. Brilliant. Thank you for that. And just briefly, I know we're more than a month away, but I've got to ask, what are the chances of a white Christmas this year?
Oh, don't, honestly.
You know what I'm going to say? You know what I'm going to say? Way too early to tell for that sort of thing. But I would just add that most years it's more likely not to be a white Christmas. However, you just need a flake of snow falling from the sky for it to be defined as a white Christmas. So it doesn't take much. It could be a rainy day and you get one flake mixed in and then it's a technical white Christmas.
Do you know what? I started reporting, Aidan, in about 1712. And I remember doing a story where I was told by the meteorology department that actually we are more likely in this country, because of where we are and all the rest of it, that we are more likely to have a white Easter than a white Christmas. Is that still true?
It's mostly true, but it's only true when Easter is in March, because March you get more snow days than you do in December. If it's a late Easter in April, then it's less likely. But if Easter is in March, yeah, more likely to be white.
Aidan, I'm so excited about going around. I'm going to be quoting your half an hour after dawn is the coldest time for quite some... That's me now. That's me sorted.
Well, it's a great pub quiz question,
it is.
Penny.
When is the coldest? Aidan, thank you so much for that little nugget there. Aidan McGivern from the Met Office.
Brilliant. So you get a bit of trivia when you watch Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
Yeah.
But if you're in search of not cold, but sun, holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
After Storm Claudia, conditions will be improving across Portugal and Spain, rain clearing to sunshine, though we are expecting still some showers across parts of the Mediterranean. Nevertheless, on Tuesday across Portugal and Spain there will be plenty of sunshine, but as we drift our way eastwards we are expecting some heavy showers, if not some thunderstorms, across parts of Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece. Still plenty of showers as we head into next week, in between some brighter interludes, but feeling a lot cooler than of late.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 48 minutes past 2, and a new book by journalist Andy Webb has claimed that there is a direct link between the infamous Princess Diana interview with Martin Bashir and her tragic death in Paris.
Yes, Martin Bashir said in 2021, "I apologise then and I do so again now over the fact that I asked for bank statements to be mocked up. It was a stupid thing to do and was an action I deeply regret."
Yeah, and let's just provide some context here. So Martin Bashir, the journalist who not only conducted the interview, but persuaded Princess Diana to do the interview by giving all these false bank statements and lies, essentially, to her brother, Earl Spencer, was found to have lied in the Dyson report, which was published, the investigation into the cover-up of this scandal. But it was absolutely extraordinary because what the book is essentially alleging is that Princess Diana got rid of her bodyguards, that's what the book says, because she was so paranoid, because she had been fed lies by Bashir that her bodyguards were spying on her for the crown. And that is why she got rid of them, and that is why she was with no security.
Essentially on her own.
On her own.
Pretty much on her own in that tunnel in Paris,
yes.
And that's it. And I was just going back. Immediately we start talking about this, I go back to that time in 1995, and just how incredibly shocking it was that Princess Diana had died. I mean, I was with my sister, funny enough, in Seville. It was a Sunday, and and we were watching this Italian television, and she said, "Doesn't it mean that they've died when there's a black rim around them?" And I said, "Well, yes, but what is it?" Because I was just sort of making a cup of tea. And she said, "Well, they've got it round the picture of Princess Diana." I said, "Oh, that wouldn't have happened. No, Princess Diana, no. And it was it was incredibly shocking. It was just such I mean, obviously, it is still a major news story.
Yes, and we're still talking about it, 25 years later. I mean, I've completely lost the words. When you investigate someone's death, the coroner's report basically was saying that she died for a number of factors, and even Prince Harry has said on the record that it's basically a bit of like a bike chain. The driver was drunk. The car was driving too quickly because it was being chased by paparazzi, and it went into the tunnel, crashed, and she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, as I said. But of course, she did not have her security with her. Prince William, of course, then comes out after the Dyson report is published and says the air of the interview was given under false pretenses and therefore should never be aired again. And he really hit hard against the state broadcaster, the BBC. In that interview.
But anyway, this book is essentially saying that this situation in the car, in the tunnel, would not have happened had Martin Bashir not lied to her and made her essentially paranoid that everybody was briefing against her, if you like, and that actually she was safer with nobody around than having anybody around almost.
And it also alleges in this book that there were 3 of us in this marriage, but it was a bit crowded. The very infamous line that Diana said was not talking about the affair between Charles and Camilla. It was talking about what we know to be false affair between Tiggy Legberg, William and Harry's nanny, and Charles, a lie that had been fed to Diana via Martin Bashir. So that's, of course, what is alleged. But the whole story compares the scandal to the Post Office Horizon scandal, trusted British institutions, lying and covering up, for example, argues, and the author, Andy Webb, argues that the BBC still doesn't grasp that this story will not go away. And, it could potentially open a bit of a can of worms, couldn't it?
Yeah. The BBC spokesperson said in a response, in 2020, the BBC commissioned Lord Dyson to conduct an independent investigation so that he could gain a full picture of what happened in 1995. The BBC provided all relevant documentation that was in the BBC's possession to the Lord Dyson inquiry. Other individuals involved in these events also supplied Lord Dyson with written materials. In May 2021, the BBC published the Lord Dyson report and accepted his conclusions in full, and this has all been well documented.
Gosh, well, this really was, it's the most extraordinary scandal, isn't it? I'm sure it's going to live on, and we are hopefully going to be speaking to Andy Webb later on this week on Good Afternoon Britain, and Tom Harwood will be back by later on that point. But, Penny, it's been an absolute pleasure sitting next to you for Good Afternoon Britain here today.
Thank you very much for watching Good Afternoon Britain, and don't go anywhere because Martin is up next.
He certainly is, live from the heart of Westminster. And of course, we've got Shabana Mahmood's statement about her asylum seeker plans coming up shortly.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, it will stay dry for many of us, but in the north and east, we will see a few showers. Some of these falling as snow across the far north of Scotland, where there is a risk of ice overnight. And we will see that wetter, sleetier weather become a little bit more widespread across parts of Scotland and northern England through Tuesday. But through tonight, we'll continue to see showers across the far north of Scotland, so we could see some ice on the roads. Elsewhere, it will turn quite chilly overnight with clear skies, particularly across eastern areas. So we're expecting a widespread rural frost by tomorrow morning. But across western areas, Northern Ireland in particular, a blanket of cloud will keep temperatures a little bit above zero. But we'll start to see this rain falling as sleet and snow, particularly over the high ground of parts of central, southern Scotland, parts of the Pennines as well. The highest parts of the Pennines could see some sleety accumulations as well. Quite a lot of cloud around across more central, southern areas of England as well. But it's further north and west where we'll see a much wetter start to the day, and it's going to feel quite wintry. As I said, we do have warnings in force throughout Tuesday, all the way through until Thursday, in fact, for wintry hazards such as snow and ice. It's the first spell of winter, so do take care if you're travelling over the next few days, particularly in the evenings and early mornings. And we will see some more widespread rain spread across more northern areas throughout Tuesday. That will push into the far south and east by the end of the day, but it should remain fairly dry and bright for a lot of the day across the far southeast. Temperatures across the southeast 9 or 10 degrees, a little bit warmer than elsewhere. We've got a very brisk northerly wind bringing quite a chilly feel. Now, the snow warnings continue across parts of Scotland through Tuesday evening. We'll start to see some accumulations above around 150 metres, and it's going to get even colder as we head to Wednesday and Thursday. That's when we're expecting the coldest part of the week, with further snow for many northern areas.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Camilla Tominey. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News Breakfast.